Okay. Good evening. Welcome to a slightly delayed regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Palos Verdes Estates. Today is May 26, 2026, time 6:34 p.m. Apologies for the late start. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that. And on that note, hope everybody had a great holiday on Monday. Over to the city clerk for a roll call, please.
Councilmember McGowan.
Here.
Councilmember Quinn is absent. Councilmember Lozey.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Lazaro.
Here.
And Mayor Kemps.
I am here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. On next to approval of our agenda, would any council member like to amend anything, or may I have a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
So moved by Mayor Pro Tem Lazaro, second Councilmember McGowan. All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed. Thank you very much. On to the mayor's report. I'll be short and sweet. I had the distinct privilege of speaking twice and giving a State of the City presentation, one for the Malaga Cove Homeowners Association and one for the Palos Verdes Chamber of Commerce with the other mayors. I thought both went very well. My advice in both cases is that it's always nice to have a laptop in front of you and not have to look at the screen. One other comment, one of our guests in the room this evening joined both of those presentations, so thank you for coming. Over to the city manager for his update. Oh. We need tech support.
All right.
Microphone.
Not on mine, not on any of them.
There it is.
All right. Good evening, residents, Mr. Mayor, and members of the City Council and staff. Couple things I wanted to touch on before turning it over to our chief. Like the mayor, last week seemed like there was a lot of presentations going on. I think that I pinched hit for the Peninsula Real Estate Association over at Los Verdes Park, Los Verdes Golf Course. And speaking of PowerPoints, that didn't work, so I winged it, and it came out.
Oh, that makes three. Awesome.
Just fine. I also wanted to share a couple updates about some stuff going on within the city. Weed abatement is fully underway, as hopefully you have seen. Our goats have completed, I think they've completed Area 3. So they completed Area 1 down here, Area 1, Area 2, and I believe Area 3 has been completed. They've moved into Area 4, which is right near City Hall. So if you leave out City Hall, you'll see that the goat herder trailer is there and the trail's closed. They're working their way. Somebody said they could see him from PV Drive.
Yes, I saw
Today,
that.
did you see him?
Yep.
PV Drive West, and it's so steep, I keep thinking, well, and they're sort of fat, so I'm kind of.
Yeah, they're very fleet of foot, so we'll be okay.
Well,
You're all invited to come. As you walked in, you might have seen the electric fence in the little lot, the Peacock lot by City Hall. If you're here, they will be here Thursday in our little lot. We've asked them to include that. They did that at no charge. We thought it'd be fun for everyone to be able to see them up close, and especially for staff. So we're planning for Thursday. So that's what's going on with the goats. And our hand crew, the supplemental hand crew, is starting next week, June 1st. And it is down in this area, which to me looks like it's the orange. That's probably Upper Lunada Bay. They'll be doing areas the goats can't get to and working their way throughout the city. So we are well aware. And then also I learned today, and I know there was a correspondence that came in from a resident about Paseo del Campo between the golf course and the homes. That is the area. That area is the responsibility of the golf course per the concession agreement. And in fact, today I went out there to take a look, and unbeknownst to any of us, work was underway. I saw a crew out there, and I found out, what are you guys doing? And they were cutting back. So you could already tell the difference out there, and we will stay on the golf course to make sure. And they also did Via Campesina at the little curve. They did that area as well. I haven't seen it. I didn't see that part, but that is happening too. So we're really happy about that. We are planning to work with them to clear out that canyon over time. Just trying to get that work scheduled. I don't want to steal the thunder of our people from the county, but I will a little bit. Just as a reminder, I guess there really is no election day anymore. It's election month. You have 3 ways to vote here in Palos Verdes Estates. There's the ballot drop box, which is here in our parking lot. I see people dropping off all the time. New this year is a flex vote center at the golf course, and it'll be on May 29th from 8 to 1. And then your traditional voting center will be at the school district, not the middle school, be the school district, Malaga Cove School with the district offices. That starts on May 30th and runs through Election Day. And then finally, I had the pleasure of attending, along with Councilmember McGowan, Chief Hellinga, and a couple of our police officers, the Memorial Day event over at the, what's the name of the? Green Hills Memorial Park. It's the first time I had been there, first time I'd been to the event. It is very impressive. Multiple flyovers, the Navy band, a very, very inspirational speech from a veteran who lost both of his eyes. And he talked a little about, he wound a story around all of that. And he had some of his team, some of his platoon with him on the stage. It was really, really inspirational. And then the final was the skydiving, where they literally land right in front of us, bringing in the flag. So it was a great event, well attended. Look at these handsome folks right here. I put this picture up because I think it's really important that the community and the council and everybody knows that all of the officers that attended on their off day. And so maybe for the chief and the captain, that's expected. But the 2 officers on the right side, they were not scheduled to work, but they put their uniforms on and their, what do you call it? Their covers, their fancy hats.
Yeah, it's a cover, not a hat.
Cover, and just came on their own. And I was really impressed by that. And it meant a lot. I think it meant a lot to the community. There was quite a show of South Bay Police out there, and it was just a really great event. So if you've never been, it'll be on Memorial Day next year, and I highly recommend it. So.
I didn't know you and I had to go.
What's that?
It was our day off, too.
We got to go. We got to go. So I just wanted to recognize Officer Zabukovic and Sergeant Marino for coming in on their day off and showing the colors. That impressed me. So with that, I'm going to, unless there's any questions from you from the City Council, I'm going to turn this over to Chief Hellinga to talk about a couple of things.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and City Council members and members of the public. It was great to go to that, and if I could just add on a little bit, I think the very last speaker at the Memorial Day event mentioned, encouraging people to bring their children to the observance so that we can pass on, the real purpose of Memorial Day, and it's not just about barbecues and a free day off school for the kids. And I know it's a meaningful impact to my kids, and we enjoy. I know I missed last year, but we try to go every year, and it does have an impact. And the barbecue for me came a little after, so we didn't miss that either. But also last week, I attended the South Bay Police and Fire Memorial Foundation Medal of Valor Award Luncheon. Mayor Kemps was there also, along with the city manager and a few others. So the South Bay Police Fire Memorial Foundation is an organization which is a nonprofit, and I'll say we because I've been a board member for several years. But we raise money to help support officers within the South Bay that are in need, whether that's from some type of medical problem that they or their family members are having, or a catastrophic event like an officer that's killed in line of duty, and we provide some financial support to the family. But annually, we put on the Medal of Valor Luncheon, and we were proud this year to award Officer John Zabukovic with our department with a life-saving award. He also received certificates of recognition from the California State Senate and the California Assembly. It was for his actions on October 30th, which this council has previously recognized this past February, but on October 30th, 2025, he responded to a call involving a traffic collision of a vehicle versus a bicyclist. Officer Zabukovic arrived within 2 minutes, and he immediately noticed that the bicyclist had a catastrophic neck injury with severe arterial bleeding. Recognizing the immediate threat to life, he took decisive action, applying direct pressure, hemostatic dressing, and manually controlling the bleeding until paramedics arrived. Paramedics later confirmed that Officer Zabukovic's actions were life-saving and directly prevented a fatal outcome. So it's a great recognition, not only in front of the council, but also in front of our peers. As mentioned, this is a South Bay event, so it's the 9 cities within the South Bay and the fire departments. And Officer Zabukovic also receives a pin that he's now allowed to wear on his uniform, which is recognized by all of his peers as well. So we're proud of him for that accomplishment. So the next part of my update has to do with coyotes and the city's response. It's a little bit of reading, but I think it's important for just so I don't miss anything. The city established the coyote management plan in 2017. It was built around 4 main areas: tracking and documenting coyote activity, public education, behavior modification, and a tiered response plan based on reported conduct. The city's response depends on the specific behavior involved. Coyotes are generally most active between dusk and dawn, but they may be seen at any time during the day. They are also naturally curious animals and may observe people from what they consider to be a safe distance. So the police department manages and follows up on coyote sightings that are received, like reports that are received. Reports are reviewed, the behavior is evaluated, reporting parties are contacted, and circumstances are documented. I have to recognize Captain Belda. We met with him this morning, and he was well prepared to brief the city manager and I, and he does extensive efforts in reaching out to people who are reporting coyote behavior. So anything that is above like coyotes simply seen, Captain Belda will generally call or email that person to try to get more information from them. And that follow-up is important because it helps us distinguish between normal sightings, non-aggressive behavior, pet-related incidents, and conduct that may require a higher level response. During these follow-ups, residents are provided information on hazing, pet safety, attractant removal, and continued use of the reporting portal. So we do have a tiered response plan. It looks like this for the members of the audience, and I put a copy on each of your desk. But it is a 4-leveled response based on the behavior severity of the coyote. A level green generally involves coyotes being seen or heard. A level yellow includes conduct such as coyotes entering yards. The response to the yellow level includes education, hazing guidance, pet safety information, and yard audits when appropriate. Level orange includes coyotes entering a yard and injuring or killing an attended or unattended pet. The response includes all of the above, plus consultation with outside agencies. And for that type of behavior, lethal removal may be considered. Level red involves the most serious conduct. It includes a coyote following or approaching a person, aggressive behavior, biting or injuring an attended pet, or any human injury. These incidents require more significant response, documentation, and consultation with California Department of Fish and Wildlife or the Los Angeles County Agricultural Commissioner. So based on the behavior and follow-up investigation, lethal removal has different considerations ranging from it may be considered to will be considered to recommended. The tiered model allows the city to respond based on the facts of each incident rather than treating every sighting the same. For purposes of the city's response plan, a threat incident is defined as a conflict between a human and a coyote where the coyote exhibits the following behavior: approaches a human or growls, bares its teeth or lunges, injures or kills an attended domestic animal. So for all of 2025 and all of 2026 thus far, we haven't received any reports of coyotes displaying that described behavior. So seasonal activity. So it is spring or coming close to summer here, and coyote activity can significantly increase. It's typically because that's when pups are being born. During this period, coyotes may be more active around den sites, food sources, and areas where they are raising young. The seasonal activity can lead to more sightings and reports from residents. It doesn't mean that every sighting is a public safety threat, but it does make education, pet safety, attractant removal, and consistent reporting especially important. So, as with a lot of things we do in the police department, we try to educate and we try to share the responsibility with the community members. And the best defense against coyote conflicts is public education and prevention. Residents play a major role in reducing coyote activity near their homes. The main prevention tools are exclusion, sanitation, and hazing. So that includes securing trash and compost, removing fallen fruit from trees, limiting outdoor pet food and water. Coyotes are scavengers, so if you leave cat food out or dog food out, they'll be attracted to that. That includes bird feeders. We encourage people to clear dense vegetation that could provide for hiding areas for coyotes. Supervising pets when you're letting them out in the backyard if you can. Using short leashes rather than long leashes, and securing crawl spaces or other areas that could be a den site for coyotes. So trapping is a last resort. It's not a relocation tool. Under California law, coyotes cannot simply be trapped and relocated to another area. If a coyote is trapped, it either has to be released at the trapping location or euthanized on site. Because of that, any trapping decision must be handled carefully and must be based on documented behavior and a public safety concern. The city does not engage in general culling or population control. If removal is considered, it has to focus on a specific animal or incident pattern that presents a public safety issue. The city consults with appropriate outside agencies before taking that type of action. So I just want to describe culling a little bit and the science behind that. So general culling, as I mentioned, is not considered an effective long-term coyote management strategy. So coyotes are highly adaptable. They can adjust their litter size based on available resources. And when coyotes are removed from an area, other coyotes may move into the vacant territory. Historical eradication efforts have not eliminated coyotes. In fact, coyote range has expanded over time despite those efforts. For that reason, the city's plan focuses on education, reducing attractants, hazing, documented behavior, and using the tiered response plan that I described. Cities that do consider a coyote trapping program for population control must comply with the requirements of California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA. CEQA determination involving either a mitigated negative declaration or an environmental impact report, including mitigation measures, would have to be adopted by the City Council. In 2022, we did receive a quote to have a CEQA study done, and that came in at $30,000. In closing, the city takes coyote activity seriously. I'm very proud of Captain Belde. He's very on top of this. He is definitely our subject matter expert, and like I said, he takes it seriously. He reaches out to a lot of people to educate them, learn more about their interactions with coyotes, and overall, our response is guided by public safety and the city's coyote management plan. Residents and community members are encouraged to go to our website and report coyote activity there. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions up here?
I do. So, and I think you just touched on it at the very end there. So we still rely on, I will say we had that kind of website, or it's like a coyote portal. I forgot, I was trying to look it up to find its name. And so we still rely on residents to come into that and report, like all of this that's reported, it has to be someone going in there and reporting, right?
Correct.
So I wonder if residents really realize that thing's out there. Maybe we need to highlight that. You'd have to go looking for it. But
you would have to look for it. If you were to call us, our dispatchers are well familiar with it, and they're very accommodating. The dispatchers.
well, that's kind of my next question. Do people just call into dispatch
Yes.
with that information?
Yes.
And then does the dispatch take that information and they put it in the portal, or they tell the person to put it in the the How's it get to the portal?
It could go both ways. I'm trying to find the email.
And the portal, as I recall, don't we partner with RPV and Rolling Hills Estates, and we're
Correct.
all using, right? I mean, we're trying to track behavior peninsula-wide, correct?
That is correct. Yes.
Yeah, okay. And then I kind of wondered, maybe question for the city manager maybe, but, you know, we launched the citizen, kind of that citizen request software. I mean, is this a module is this something that could be incorporated into that so that residents can go to one place? Like, okay, if you have a coyote sighting, you got to go over here. If you have, you know, a roadkill that needs to be picked up, you got to go over there. So, yeah, just a thought, so we have a little bit more of one-stop shopping customer service for our residents. That's aside to the main topic here, but.
No,
that's just off my head.
yes, you can report. There is a section on there for animals, so you can make a coyote report. I don't know if the two can blend, like you can automatically send it to the portal.
So you'd still have to somehow get it.
But if it got into
'cause we
that
share it
one,
with the other cities.
right,
Yeah.
we
Okay.
would use it to populate back
Okay.
to the portal.
Okay, thank you.
Others? No? Okay. Thank you for the updates. On to presentations. Thank you for waiting. Los Angeles County Registrar Recorder's Office.
Mr. Mayor, while they're setting up, I just wanted to make a quick, brief announcement. Granicus was not streaming live. We believe it is now. It is recording. So just in case anybody gets a text message like I did, we believe it's working now because I just brought it up on my end. You confirm that?
And we have the full meeting recorded?
And we have it was recording it and holding it, and so we're good. And I checked with the city attorney, so we are A-okay.
Great.
Good. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Adrian Avalar. I'm with the Los Angeles County Registrar, Recorder, County Clerk, and I appreciate your time today. I appreciate the opportunity to come and present to you on the ongoing June 2nd statewide primary election. Los Angeles County administers elections under the California Voters' Choice Act. So what this means is we have different features of our voting system. This includes vote by mail, vote centers, ballot drop boxes, conditional voter registration, which is available at all vote centers. And this sort of election, or this methodology applies for all local consolidated elections, countywide elections, and special elections administered by Los Angeles County. We'll start with vote by mail. This is our most popular method of voting here in LA County. Every active registered voter is mailed a ballot no later than 29 days before the election. So all active registered voters should have already received their vote by mail ballot, and they've been returning them throughout the voting period. There are 3 options available to voters to return that ballot back to us. The first is through the USPS, through postage paid by the RSCC. Envelopes, we do encourage voters who are going to use the post office to mail that back no later than 7 days before the election, so that would be today. So we encourage people who are going to mail it to send it back as soon as possible. If a voter is going to send it via post office later than that, we encourage them to go into a post office and get a postmark to ensure it's counted timely. This is related to changes at the U.S. Postal Service. So again, our messaging is if you're going to return it that way, do it early. Voters can also drop off their ballot at a secure ballot drop box. We have one here located at the Palos Verdes Estate City Hall, so thank you for that partnership. And then we have hundreds located throughout the county as well, and you can go to any drop box. And then voters can also return their ballots at any vote center in Los Angeles County, and those vote centers opened this past weekend, and they'll be open through Election Day. On our website, voters can find the ballot drop box locator tool. This is a great tool to find the ballot drop box closest to you, whether it's your home or your work or school. You can find a location, get the general hours that it's available, and then also get directions. We often get asked what happens to my ballot when I do vote by mail. Like I mentioned before, there's 3 methods for a voter to use, so you'll see those on the chart. Regardless of the method used by the voter, those ballots are then going to make their way to the ballot processing center in the City of Industry. This is the central processing center where all voted ballots in Los Angeles County are tallied. Once it's received there, those ballots are then going to be organized, they're going to be sorted, and we're going to do the signature verification. So we're going to check the signature on the return envelope that the voter provided against the voter's registration. What's important about this process is that if the signature passes, the ballot will then move on, be extracted from the envelope and then tallied. But if there's an issue, based on California law, we go ahead and give a voter an opportunity to fix that. There are some very common issues, like a voter forgot to sign their envelope. Other common issues, for example, 2 household members, maybe they signed the wrong envelope. We're able to go ahead and do more research and fix that, give the voter an opportunity to fix that, and then get that ballot counted. All of those ballots are then going to be tallied at the ballot processing center in the City of Industry. That count starts on election night at 8 p.m., and then we will be certifying the election and reporting results in 30 days. Next, for in-person voting, voters can vote at any vote center in the county. There's hundreds of vote centers throughout the county. Voters can also use them to drop off their ballot. They can get assistance and voting materials in multiple languages. So we have both an accessible voting system that has languages supported on the device, and we also have multilingual election workers that are there to assist voters in another language. And then they can also use the conditional voter registration. So this is a service that we offer that allows voters who've missed the registration deadline to register to vote and participate in that election. This is really common for people who may have moved recently, or somebody who, for example, may have turned 18 after the close of registration, but in time for the election. Next, we have our mobile vote centers program. This is a pretty unique program that we offer here in Los Angeles County. We recognize Los Angeles County is the largest, most diverse election jurisdiction in the country. We recognize that not all voters may be able to find their way to a traditional vote center, and we also realize that there's just a lot of people we need to outreach to. So we have our mobile vote centers program where we deploy upwards of 40 to 50 of these events. We have 5 trailers in LA County. We go to things like farmers markets, festivals, high employment centers, and we allow people to vote there. We also have our Flex Vote Centers program. This is a program that's really focused on hard-to-reach communities. So this includes geographically isolated voters, historically underserved communities, seniors, voters with disabilities. We also deploy these in emergency situations, like for fire-impacted areas. And they provide a smaller footprint, but they provide the same vote services as a larger vote center. On our website, we have a vote center locator tool. This is a great tool for voters who are looking to vote in person. This allows them to find a location close to where they want to vote. Most people do vote near their residence, but we also get voters who vote at their school, for example. College campuses are very, very popular places to vote. You can find the hours that they're open. Like I mentioned, some vote centers opened last weekend, and more vote centers are going to be opening this weekend. And then really important, you can see the wait times. We know Election Day is our busiest day. People tend to wait until that Tuesday to vote. We also know during primaries, when there's so many candidates are dropping out, that people tend to want to wait until Election Day. We're also aware of some messaging from candidates and political parties encouraging people to wait. So we're very well prepared for a very busy election day, but we encourage voters to check those wait times. We often see some sites might have a 30-minute wait, and just a few minutes away, there's a site with no wait. So we really encourage voters to use that. Next, we'll talk about some vote centers in Palos Verdes Estates, and City Manager gave you a little bit of a preview for this. We are going to be at Palos Verdes Peninsula Unified School District, but there's also a number of vote centers in the surrounding areas as well. There's churches, high schools, parks. We really rely on community spaces and community partners for vote centers. While they're required by law, we really work with our different cities, our school districts to have good relationships and make sure we can offer convenient locations to our voters. See those vote centers listed in the surrounding areas. We have one here in Palos Verdes Estates, but then also some in Rancho Palos Verdes, Torrance, Redondo Beach, Rolling Hills, and then some additional in the surrounding areas. Next is our ballot drop boxes in the area. We have the one here at City Hall. We also have quite a few in the surrounding areas. We encourage voters to use these ballot drop boxes. Ballots are being picked up daily from these locations, so we really encourage it as the most secure and the most convenient option for our voters to return their ballots. And then here you'll see those ballot drop boxes in the surrounding areas. Very similar, we work closely with cities, public libraries. They tend to have really good, convenient locations for us to locate these. And now just some more high-level information about the upcoming June 2nd election. We completed mailing those ballots on April 30th, so all of the ballots should be out for all registered voters. We have a total of 645 vote centers for this election, 424 ballot drop boxes, 10 flex vote center teams, 5 mobile vote center teams, and this is a big one I wanted to highlight, 10 to 12,000 election workers to support this election. This really does require moving mountains to conduct elections here in LA County, and we recruit, train, and deploy, again, 10 to 12,000 election workers. Language assistance is a cornerstone to our services here in LA County. It's based on federal law, state law. We support all of our systems and services in 18 languages. And then we recently had 5 additional languages added last December to bring us up to a total of 23 in addition to English. And we're working on improving our support for those languages, including our ballot marking device, being able to mail a voter a ballot in that language as well. For this election, we do have oral assistance in those 5 languages, meaning in the areas where those languages are needed based on census data, based on state data, we do our best to have multilingual election workers located to help those voters. Like I mentioned earlier, our messaging is really focused on people voting early. For vote by mail, it's critical so that you can get that postmark if you are going to use the Postal Service. Also for ballot drop boxes, it's important because we do send you notifications once we receive your ballot. So it's really helpful for our voters to have that assurance that their ballot's been counted. And then when it comes to voting in person, voting early is really important because it means you're going to have a better experience. You're not going to have to wait through a 20, 30-minute line. You're going to be in and out in just a few minutes, and you'll be helped right away. Just sharing with the public some contacts and resources where they can reach us. We have our voter information email, our mobile voting program. A really critical part of the mobile voting program is a partnership. We work with cities, community groups to help us find those events. So if you know of a senior citizen group that could use a flex vote center, please reach out and let us know. If you know of a farmer's market, a car show, any major event in the community, we also encourage you to reach out and let us know so we can try and find an opportunity to be there. And then you'll see information on our vote center recruitment, our voter outreach and education, and then our media and communications. That's it for my presentation. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you. We really appreciate you coming. Very, very informative. Any questions? My one question was frequency of ballot box retrieval, but you answered it. So.
Yeah, so we do pick those up daily. They're picked up by teams of 2 to make sure that we have dual chain of custody. And yeah, that's a really important one for us. We want our voters to know that when they drop off the ballot in that ballot drop box, it's going to be at our office within 24 hours.
Awesome.
So if you drop your ballot in a vote center on Election Day, does that ballot get counted, and is that reflected in the first drop that we see on election night?
No, so
Does it take longer to process?
Yeah, so I'll answer that first part of the question. So if you drop your ballot off at a vote center on election night, so that's going to be 8 p.m., the staff is going to close down the vote center. That ballot is going to be securely transported to the City of Industry. We still need to verify your signature. So that ballot is going to have to go through the process of signature verification. So it might be a few days until your ballot's actually counted. Now, you asked about the 8 p.m., it's like 8:30, we have our first results. Those are going to be vote by mail ballots that were returned early, and they're also going to be people who voted early during the early voting period. So another way to say that is if, as a voter, you want your ballot counted early, you should also vote early. Okay.
Yeah. All good? Awesome.
All
Thank
right.
you very much.
Thank you. And thank you to the city clerk for inviting us.
Indeed. Okay, on to communications from the public, in no particular order. Deanna Hockett, come on up. And welcome.
Good evening.
Maybe, yeah. There you go.
This weekend, my neighbor and I started going door to door, talking with homeowners who, like us, live along the golf course and the parkland there. More than 65 homeowners have signed our petition so far, and they've told us they're very worried. The parkland along Paseo del Campo has everything needed to unleash a deadly wildfire in our neighborhood. First, it has dry fuel. Embers ignite at least 2/3 of the homes lost in wildfires. This parkland is full of flammable vegetation that makes excellent embers. Second, we have strong winds. Paseo del Campo runs parallel to a canyon. It's so close you can see into it from the street in several places. Canyons are very dangerous during wildfires because they funnel winds, increasing fire spread and intensity. And third, there are potential ignition sources. One, the parkland's tall brush attracts people who want to hide, activities like camping and making fire pits. Police were just called in to deal with a person in a tent right there, hidden by all the tall weeds. And two, the parkland's heavy fuel near expensive homes makes it attractive to arsonists. When investigators asked the man accused of starting the deadly Palisades fire why someone might commit arson in the Palisades, Jonathan Rinderknecht responded that, quote, "It would be out of resentment of the rich enjoying their money," unquote. PVE is an affluent city. One angry person is all it would take to ignite this parkland and destroy our homes. So the whole neighborhood is getting together to ask for your help. Get the golf course to work with our fire department to understand and then meet all the defensible space requirements of the LA County Fire Department. And these involve a lot more than just a little brush trimming. So thank you. We're eager to hear from you how you will work with the golf course, because it is their responsibility, actually.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think in an attempt to keep you guys together, Carolyn, are you, would you like to go next? I asked if you wanted to come next. Oh, yeah. Because we're on, I'm trying to keep the topic together.
Thank you.
Sure.
I'm actually Deanna Hockett. I wanted her to go first.
Ah,
So, nice to meet you. Okay, mine's very short. It's kind of a summation of what she said, so that's why I wanted to go second. All right, let me see. Everybody hear me?
yes.
Okay. So, going door to door this weekend, we talked with lots of young families. We talked to senior citizens and then everybody in between, lots of people. Now, lots of them were not there because it was a holiday weekend. So, whoops, sorry about that. I'll say, so people already recognize that there's a risk of a wildfire here, and because of the overgrown parkland. And they're all very worried that if there was a fire, they would lose their home. So, and they can't resolve this problem on their own. Some have tried and they've failed. So the whole neighborhood is asking you to do something to help us. So what they would like to happen is that you please make the golf course be responsible as a neighbor. They're basically our neighbor, and give us that adequate space, defensible space in the parkland to stop a fire from reaching our homes. And that's all I have to say.
Simple
So
request.
thank you.
Appreciate it very much. Thank you. John Cradell, please.
Honorable Mayor, City Council, City staff, and residents, I'm John Cradell, Palos Verdes Estates Neighborhood Watch, Lenata Bay South Area Coordinator. This weekend we have Neighbors Meeting Neighbors. Don't forget Sunday, May 31st is our annual Neighbors Meeting Neighbors event. It's lots of fun for residents of all ages at 4 venues in our city, right in your very own neighborhood, Valmonte, Malaga Cove, Monte Malaga, and Lenata Bay. We will have police and fire as part of our city caravan, along with others who work hard to make our city great. And we will, once again, have our ice cream truck visiting each site. Come and see longtime friends and meet new neighbors. This event helps to promote one of the most important aspects of Neighborhood Watch, getting to know your neighbors. And I'll be in Lenata Bay and hope to share an ice cream with you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Look forward to the same. John Williams, please.
Mayor Pro Tem, City Council, City staff, and residents, good evening. My name is John Williams. I live in Monte Malaga. In December of last year, I spoke in opposition to the Citizen Initiative parcel tax. I had 2 objections. First, taxation is the City Council's job, and they are most qualified to deal with it. Second, that choice eliminated the possibility to resolve issues about budget priorities and amounts because the council can't discuss the proposition or even advocate for it. So we debate on next door. Early on, the city hired a consultant to sell the parcel tax. After several surveys, the consultant concluded, no way. That kind of deterred further council action. Maybe we needed a better consultant, someone like the council member who wants to eliminate Roundup and won't take no for an answer. That's the approach. Instead, we have Measure PF, whose entire sales pitch is protect the fire and police. We're going to do that in the next agenda item, in agenda item 7, when we will allocate $7 million to take care of the police and the fire, not $16 million. By contrast, we have waterfalls and water hazards in the parking structure included in the long list of neglected tasks in the CIP. Staff has prepared a CIP top 10 list. Does the council agree? Nobody knows. PF says those projects will get the overflow, but I worry that the overflow will appear in unexpected places due to unknown overcommitment with undisclosed priorities. Does the council believe that City Hall should be repaired? What's the status of planning a new fire and police station? The council discussion about Lot O's status came to an abrupt end. Is that planning under the gag order? Don't know. I could go on, but I will close wishing good luck to the mayor and mayor pro tem and council who will have a busy year with long deferred, tough decisions. Thank you.
Thank you for the warm wishes. Bob Amos.
Honorable Mayor, City Council, staff, and citizens, thank you. Why I believe PF is the right solution. I've been a resident for over 40 years. I was here back before many of you even know Marineland was here, and there was a lot of building going on the peninsula at that time. Our founding fathers wanted PVE to be a beautiful place without commercial businesses on every corner, therefore keeping it with what most of us consider one of the most beautiful places in California. However, the demands of managing a city have increased, while tax revenue has not increased at the same rate. So why am I for Measure PF? I would like to see PVE keep its open spaces and beauty without adding commercial businesses to generate more revenue. Measure E expires June of 27. So if Measure PF were to fail, it's going to put a burden on the entire city to have a replacement for Measure PF. Those against seem to believe that PF is a blank check, which is impossible considering that it's a restricted fund. Much like I was president of El Camino's Foundation years ago, restricted money is exactly that. It's restricted. It cannot be used for general purposes. In addition, the No PF campaign are not city officials. So how would they know what the needs of the city long-term would be? Let alone trying to assess what a cost would be 5 to 10 years down the road. If we fail with PF, it's going to put the city in a very difficult situation, as I said, which would force potentially the city's reserves if there was no solution for the police. We have trusted our city officials for the last 40 years. I've been a resident for all of those 40 years and believe that the city council is back then and current is doing the best for the citizens of Palos Verdes Estates. So in closing, I believe the next generation who will call PVE home for more than 40 years will support the funding and the needs for infrastructure to keep PVE beautiful as it has been for the last 40 years. I thank you all for your hard work and dedication to the city of Palos Verdes Estates.
Thank you, sir. Any additional public speakers that I don't already have cards for is my first question. And then a quick comment. Carolyn and Deanna, I have your numbers. I will reach out. Okay? Thanks for coming. Thank you. On to the consent agenda, items 1 through 5. 1 is approval of warrants, 2, city council meeting actions, 3, planning commission meeting actions, 4, approval of professional services agreement with Vasquez and Company for professional independent audit services for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2026, and continuing through June 30, 2028 with extension options. And 5, consideration of authorizing the mayor to sign a letter indicating opposition to Assembly Bill 1383 regarding public employee retirement benefits. Do any council members wish to remove any items from the consent agenda? I do not presently have any speaking cards on any of the consent agenda items. Might there be any?
Move to approve consent agenda items 1 through 5.
I'll second it.
Moved Councilmember Lozey, second Councilmember McGowan. All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed. Got it. On to public hearing, item number 6, resolutions regarding the annual budget and capital improvement program. And I will spare you all from reading the whole entire item. May we have a staff report, please?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is sort of the end of the story here. We've had several budget presentations and meetings and discussions with the council. Typically, this night is reserved for a brief summary, which our deputy city manager George Gabriel will be giving, and then adopting of their various resolutions. If you have questions, feel free to throw them out there, and obviously it is the council's choice whether or not to make those adoptions. So with that, I'll turn it over to our deputy city manager.
All right. Sorry, I'm just hearing over me. All right. Honorable Mayor Kempson, members of the City Council. Name is George Gabriel, Deputy City Manager. So this item before you tonight is regarding the operating budget, the appropriations limit, the salary schedule, as well as the capital improvement program. That's where all those 4 resolutions that are very detailed basically discuss. And so I'll be slightly repetitive because I know it's matters that we've discussed, but for the public's benefit, I'd like to kind of summarize the budget. And I'll try to do so in a quick and efficient way. But in essence, this budget reflects a cautious and balanced approach in a financially constrained environment, as we all are well aware of. Total general fund revenues are projected at approximately $25.8 million, while expenditures are budgeted about $27.6. So this reflects a $1.77 million deficit in order to maintain the current service levels. The projected ending fund balance is approximately $21.7 million, with reserves exceeding the city's policy requirement by roughly $2.8 million. But this is near-term stability that will that can likely end up in instability very quickly if those reserves end up being utilized, especially with the pending expiration of Measure E. On the expenditure side, public safety continues to represent the majority of general fund spending, with police and fire services accounting for approximately 58% of total expenditures. And obviously, this reflects the council's ongoing priority to maintain high levels of public safety service. The budget is significantly impacted by rising fixed costs. These fixed costs are things that we've talked about ad nauseum, beginning, I think, in February and March. And those costs started with insurance costs, which increased by about 25% year over year. CalPERS unfunded liability payments, which exceed $2 million this fiscal or next fiscal year. And these cost drivers, as well as other things, continue to limit the city's flexibility to contribute to the structural imbalance in the general fund as it is right now. Beyond operations, the capital improvement program identifies approximately $101.7 million in long-term infrastructure needs across streets, storm drains, sewer systems, facilities, and parks. A significant portion of these remain unfunded, and about 80% to be exact, which underscores the city's long-term financial challenges and the importance of continued planning and prioritization. Overall, the budget before you reflects a prudent approach that maintains the core services and provides transparency regarding current operations. At the same time, it highlights the need for ongoing fiscal planning to address the structural deficit, rising costs, and limited revenue growth. Staff is recommending that the City Council adopt the resolutions. 1, approving the operating budget for fiscal year 26-27, establishing the legally required appropriations limit. 2, approving the salary schedule that is required by CalPERS, and adopting the capital improvement program, which sets capital improvements for the next 5 years, but even plans for the 5 years thereafter that. So with that being said, this concludes my report. I'm available for any questions, and just want to, obviously this requires a lot of teamwork in putting this document together. Noah Daniels from LSL was instrumental, as well as all the department heads and all the staff in putting this document together to try to plan for the fiscal environment that we're coming into in the next fiscal year. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, may I add a couple additional comments? That'll be okay. It's not all doom and gloom. This budget also includes some really effective strategic planning by both the staff and the council. To highlight a few, we've increased our weed abatement, seems to be a topic for the night, by, I don't remember, I think we increased by 32% and lowered our costs by a couple $100,000. In addition, after seeing a trend that's been building on not only claims, but calls of frustration regarding our beautiful urban forest, the council increased the budget this year by about $100,000 for trees. One other thing that I think should be noted, it almost came up in an earlier meeting today, and I thought I'd share it with, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I was reading a document from a few years ago that projected that we needed, our police department needed a new radio system. Ours was failing, and this has been well documented amongst this council, but I think the community should know. And I think at that time, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, it was projected to be about a $1.3 million to replace that. And, kind of from looking at it from a different lens, Chief Hellinga recommended and the city joined the LA RICS program, which is a countywide consortium. And I think the total cost of that was something like $300,000 or $400,000, Chief. Significant savings. So, I don't want the message to be that the message is costs are rising and fixed costs are rising, but we're also doing everything we can to maintain levels and meet the needs of residents with the resources we have. And finally, on the insurance costs going up, we reported to the council, I think it went up 30% this year, 25% year over year. Our the CJPIA, the Joint Powers Insurance Authority, which is a self-funded government agency that we're a member of, they're not taking this lying down, right? So last council meeting, the council authorized that the city join a coalition to lobby the legislature to try and really find ways to put some stopgaps in here. Just today, I got a request to add our logo, to a letter that they're sending to all the state legislators. So I know the council knows this, but I want the community to also know that there's so many things out of our control, but will we take opportunities either of lowering costs while increasing services, we take it. And also when there's things that we may be able to affect by joining with other agencies that are experiencing all the same challenges that we're having, we try to take those opportunities as well. So I just thought I'd round out George's presentation with those comments.
Thank you. I have one question just for clarity. One of the speakers earlier said that the total public safety budget was $7 million, and I think that's missing one side of that budget. Do you know about what the total is? Of police and fire?
About 15 million, approximately.
Plus the UAL.
Yes.
I think in looking at the budget, I think those two numbers combined are just a little bit over 16 million for next fiscal year. That's what we're projecting.
Cool. Other questions?
I'll wait for
Not on that
comments.
topic, but
I'll wait for comments.
you're waiting for comments, okay? Nope.
Public.
I think we have, we've questioned this one to death. Public comment. John, come on up. Excuse me, Mr. Williams.
That's Mr. Mayor.
Excellent. I don't let anybody call me honorable or Mr. or any of that either, so that's good.
You don't resemble that remark.
I appreciate it.
Let me just comment. I didn't say the police and fire cost $7 million. I said that solved the problem. It's the other nine that comes out of general funds.
Got it.
Anyway, I'd like to talk about the pension problem. It's a difficult subject, as Council Member Lotzi has told me. I did provide a written analysis that provides sources and methods. This 3 minutes will be a very quick recap. The City Council, in regards to the pension, seems to be lost in the weeds. That's my joke for tonight. Bring in the goats. GovInvest analysis.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see that coming.
GovInvest analysis just fiddles at the margins. I've previously noted that you are all intelligent and successful in your professions and probably have the best of intentions. I still believe that. Why the confusion? The city has studied this problem in depth, and council members Kemps and Losey conducted a thorough investigation in 2020. The result was a couple of ADPs, but no sustained effort. The ad hoc report noted that, this is a quote, without a plan to prevent the additional accumulation of debt and to address and stabilize required debt payments, these rising costs are likely to cripple the general fund. And here we are. The issue seems obvious. Do we want to fund the city using debt for recurring obligations? No one suggested a bond issue for that purpose. The answer is obviously no. The discussion we had with GovInvest about funded ratio is irrelevant to our action. The actuarial calculations are a fact, not a variable. The only question is, when we get a bill, do we pay it or do we run a never-ending and apparently ever-increasing tab? Thank you. 46
Well, sadly, we pay every bill we get, but that doesn't solve the problem. Anyway.
I guess I don't understand. But
CalPERS under funds and under bills, they're UAL payments.
you get
Anyway.
a bill for the UAL. But that's fine. I mean, the point is clear.
It is. Any other public comment? Nope. Okay. Back to comments.
I can kick it off.
Kick away.
All right. I'll keep it pretty short. I think we've looked at this a few times now, but I'm struck really by two things in the budget that's been presented to us, and I think the first thing that I'm struck by is what is not in this budget. This budget, as I view it at least, is really an austerity budget. It is a survival budget. Even with Measure E still in place, we see that we have a significant operating deficit. And there's a lot of things that really are not able to be paid for, things that I think that many of us would like to see. Additional wildfire fuel abatement. We've heard very clearly from the community that that is one of their top priorities after the Palisades and Eaton fires. We don't have any money in this budget to pay down our pension debt, which we've also talked about very, very extensively, and we understand what that means for our community in terms of essentially paying what I have roughly, analogized it to a sort of credit card bill that if you don't pay it down, pay it off, it generally just gets worse, certainly doesn't get better. There's even just small things that aren't so flashy, but things like our 20-year-old accounting system and 20-year-old servers. And, we, again, have not been able to address stuff like that. There's a gate that we'd like to fix downstairs to keep our people and our equipment safe from, trespassers and burglaries, and we haven't been able to address that. So there's just, ranging from the big stuff, fuel abatement and wildfire protection and pension payoff down to these little things. I think it's really easy for people that don't come to all of our meetings or don't constantly think about this, not to understand just what a big list we've had to leave on the cutting room floor. So I really want to make that point. The second point I want to make is that the staff has really done some excellent work on the capital plan this time around. And I know that has also been challenging over the past few years, and I'm relatively new to that process in a council role. But I know that with very limited funds, the staff has had to really, again, look hard at that and really kind of pick and choose. And in the last 18 months or so, roughly, since I've been on the council, with an actual operating deficit, the choices have been even more limited. Even with that reality, I think the staff has done a very good job. They've added additional information to the plan. They have shown the plan in a more prioritized format, and they've given us more information on why certain priorities are higher than others and what criteria they're using. And we also have seen and had opportunities where the staff has worked with outside consultants and engineering experts and others, and they've done deep dives on what it will actually do to tackle some of these projects. Certainly not everything on the list is shovel-ready, but we've really made great strides in that direction, and we are going to need more money to actually fix the items on the list and conduct the necessary repairs. But I really want to thank the staff for the work that they've done so far to get us to that point. So I think that's it. Again, it's not a budget that I'm excited to pass. It's not a budget that I frankly feel very good about because of what it leaves out. But it is as close as we're going to get to anything resembling a balanced budget. And, I hope the citizens understand why it is that we're here. And I hope that we are in a better place next year.
Beautifully said.
I'm going to support the budget ratification this evening, but I do it very reluctantly. And I want to explain why I'm saying that. First of all, the staff has done an unbelievable job this year of moving the ball forward and getting us better information so we can make some tough decisions. Unfortunately, we're not there yet. We're still work in process. When we hear about the pension obligation, which I fully appreciate, and I understand pensions as part of my career, we've got an obligation of $20 or $25 million, but that is far short of the obligation that this community is looking at over the next 10 years or so of our infrastructure. One of our last meetings, we were presented with the beginning of an inventory listing of our infrastructure needs, and as someone indicated earlier tonight, 80% of that is unfunded, and that number was just over $100 million. Later in tonight's meeting, we're going to talk about another component of that infrastructure, which, in my candid opinion, is not properly reflected in the $100 million number. In other words, it's going to go up. If I look back at what is unfortunate for our residents and our community to understand, when you look at our financial statements, they're extremely misleading for most people's understanding of what the financial situation is of Palos Verde Estates. Our financial statements fail to recognize depreciation or putting monies away to repair, replace our aging assets. Our assets are 75 to 100 years old, and they're at end of life and near end of life. And we've utilized the reserves over the last X number of years to fund these structural deficits. In other words, what I define as a structural deficit is the difference between the revenue and expenditures, and we don't have the excess cash as we did 10 years ago to put into reserve funds for future repair and replacement of our capital programs. So today we have bled these reserves down to the bare minimum. We have continued to defer the maintenance on our assets. We've been paying down some of the pensions, which is fine and appropriate. But the escalating costs of running this community continue to grow. And they're going to grow into the future. And when one looks at the $16 million tax measure that's coming up, and that's essentially the budget of our police and fire. That has nothing to do, and people ask, and I think it was even mentioned tonight, there's more monies out there. Well, where's that going to go? Well, we've got tree maintenance problems that are totally mismanaged. We've got weed abatement and fire risks that are all over the place that people want further dollars spent on. We've got roadways that need improvement and over and above what we're going to get out of our various funding sources. This is all going to require general fund resources. Now, in addition to that, and there are probably other things that are unknown, is this whole quagmire of unfunded infrastructure. And if we're just using simple math, if we go with the $80 million of unfunded infrastructure, we should be putting away $8 million each year for the next 10 years. That's to try to have the cash available to repair and replace these assets. Some of these assets aren't going to last 10 years. We're going to need to accelerate the use of that cash. So we have got more needs in this community for cash flow, and we've got to look at cash flow and not just the financial budget or the structural deficit of the community. We haven't replaced all these deficits that we've bled into our reserves over the past 5 or 6 years. Ever since Measure D, we've been dipping into the piggy bank.
and not replenishing it. So do I like this budget? Absolutely not. Do I think that this budget is necessary to be done the way it is? Absolutely, because we have to continue to move forward. But assuming we can be so fortunate to have a successful PF election on June 2nd, I will encourage this council and the staff that we may need to revisit this budget in the first or second quarter to look at some emergency items that need long-range, that have long-range vision, that have to be started now in order to be prepared to keep this city at the status that the residents desire.
I have a comment.
I wouldn't do that.
Go right ahead.
Mr. McGowan, I agree with you on a lot of the spirit of what you said, all right? For one thing, and I have long said this, and I think we've generally agreed with each other, that there has been a kind of historical, long-term underappreciation of the capital investment required to run the city. And you have many times referenced the need for a different approach, of either sort of a capital reserve study or generally just putting aside more money every year in order to fund the city's long-term capital needs. And I'm not the CPA, you are, but I think the basic principle, you're onto something very important that the city has not been doing. Where I would like to just clarify something, however, is I don't believe, from my reading of the proposed capital improvement program, I believe that that is actually a rather comprehensive document that, while it may not account for every possible contingency that this city could encounter over the next 10 years, it has intentionally been, the staff has taken a robust approach to it this time around, and I think it's become more and more robust over the past few years, but this year in particular, it is a robust document that accounts for everything that I'm aware of that this city needs to account for over the next 10 years. And again, it's not to say that there isn't some contingency, some water tank that fails and flushes down a hillside or something. I mean, you know, things can happen, and if that happened, our city would not have the money to account for it. But I do want to be a little careful that we don't leave the citizenry watching with the impression that there are significant unfunded mandates that we are aware of, but we are somehow not including on the CIP. I don't think that's what you intended to say exactly. And again, I'm not aware of them, and I want to just clarify that for anyone who's watching.
Well, let me try to clarify some of that for you. I think as I've gone and spent a lot of time on the storm program that we're going to talk later this afternoon or this evening about, I believe that there's additional items in that document that are going to enhance the analysis that we reviewed a couple of weeks ago. I think there are other areas of capital infrastructure that we need to continue to study to learn more about. A good comment that I think our Public Works Director has identified is our trail system. A lot of our trail system is not reflected in that capital analysis that we have right now, and we have some risks associated with that. I think what my point is that we've made tremendous progress forward in identifying those component parts, but it needs further work. And the information that I've studied and I've researched it's going to only be upward pressure. We're not going to find things that are going to be significantly lower. And that's the reason I say what I do, that it's work in process, and I applaud Oscar and the team for getting us to where we are right now, but I think we have to be prepared that those numbers are going to potentially increase.
Okay, I can leave it there.
Okay. So back to the budget. Actually, I think the Mayor Pro Tem and Councilmember McGowan probably covered a lot of the, a lot of details. So they're right. I mean, I feel like, piggybacking on a comment from the Deputy City Manager, I mean, this budget is what it is. We've been talking about it since February, March, for all the things that are not in the budget, for, all the things that we can't do. So I'll just say that for me, and it was at our last meeting when we had kind of, I guess, our final budget presentation, the thing that sends the alarm bells off for me, and Councilmember McGowan kind of touched on this, is that in each of the last 3 years, when we say, we've approved a deficit budget, I don't think people really realize what that means. Each year it's like $2 million. So that means we dip into our savings and we take the money out of our savings. When we say, oh, we had to dip into reserves, I don't know if people really equate that. So that's your savings account. And so we've been dipping a couple $1 million a year. And when we had our presentation at the last council meeting, a big alarm bell went off because that little reserve number, our little, I pointed at the screen because it was on the screen last time, that savings account number has gone way down. And there's only a couple years left of, if you're on this path, there's only a couple years left of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that, to me, is the alarm. And that's the job of this council or any council and the staff, is to figure out how to kind of stop that bleeding and still provide services to residents and still provide what what a city is supposed to provide, which is kind of, I always say, the blocking and the tackling, public safety, streets, sewers, stormwater, that's kind of it, the basic blocking and tackling and being able to provide that. So anyway, so the budget, it is what it is. Another year of having to approve a deficit budget, which is just extremely frustrating, but it's our reality. And hopefully in the coming fiscal year, we're able to manage our way out of it.
Well said on all accounts. I think I'm sitting here thinking to myself, what hasn't been said. I think there's a couple things on the CIP side, and we could sit for 12 hours and have four combined workshops over it.
For sure.
We have quotes on what it would take to remediate City Hall and to remediate the parking lot. I'm minus the water issues. I don't feel confident enough that we have the numbers there to know what the comparison is between repair and replace, whether or not the repair numbers are adequate and viable because they were a guess by a consultant, and sort of what needs to be done here in order to solidify this building. Are we putting good money after bad or not? So
Sure.
that whole thing needs a look. The other thing I'll say is the water issue is a big one. I'm speaking of the Malaga Cove related and here, everything from the French drain on down to how you design it to what you do about it. There's really big dollars that are associated with the current analysis of that. We need to breathe and look at that again. So those two things are massive. For me, when you pull those aside for a minute, and it doesn't mean they're not important, we haven't talked about grants and whatever else, but when you move those two things aside, and then you look at the rest, then you get into the prioritization of what's important in Oscar's, organization. By the way, let me be the fourth one, and I'll speak for the fifth. Oscar, look up. Thank you for the tremendous amount of work that you have done
really
on this.
good.
It is absolutely, truly excellent. We're not sitting here just singing accolades to be nice about it. It's impressive work, and we really appreciate it.
Amen.
So thank you for that.
Well done.
I just want to pause on that one. Again, approving a deficit budget. Look, when I was first around this game, which is sort of just after Councilmember Lozey, I looked up because I didn't want to say your first name. Out of respect.
Oh.
Our net position was running around 20 million bucks. A year or so ago, it was back to 20 million bucks. So we rode this wave. The ability to continue to ride that wave, and then to David's point, you know, we depleted reserves and used restricted funds as much as we possibly could and scraped because of the limitation. We don't need to sit here and talk about what Measure D and the failure of it did to us anymore. It was so long ago, we need to solve the problem. I'm not going to get into advocating for a particular resident initiative. But when we're done with that, we'll see what we have to do, and we'll make some choices and decisions going forward, whether it's managing new funds or whether it's making what others would like to be a council-initiated decision. All I would say is this. If we end up in a council-initiated decision, we're going to need not infighting, not crabby stuff on next door. We're going to need a collaborative partnership to solve the problem and pay the bill and not make up what isn't there. I'm sure that just blew up next door, but I'll leave that there. I'm also prepared to approve the budget as much as it kills me because none of it's forward-looking. None of us would do this in any of our businesses that we're running. And unfortunately, if we don't end up with new revenue, however it's created, this might be the last one we approve like this until we're forced to eviscerate it.
Yep, totally. Okay, can I make a motion?
Make your motion.
All right, so with that, I move that we adopt resolution number R26-15, R26-16, R26-17, and R26-18.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion, Council.
oh, no.
You really wanted to pause.
I'm really excited.
If you really don't want to do that, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Well, it stinks. It absolutely stinks.
Motion, Councilmember Lozzi, second, Mayor Pro Tem Lazaro. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unopposed. Thank you for all of your work. Thank you for joining us in the unfortunate frustration and sticking together and working this through. We appreciate it. On to item 7, receive and file an update to the draft final 2026 citywide storm drain master plan. Over to Oscar.
Thank you, Mayor, council members, members of the public. First, thank you for the kind words. I will be remiss if I didn't mention the tremendous help, and everybody knows here that Monica Penco in particular has done with this CIP and with this next item as well. Thank you, Monica. I want to just quickly introduce this item. Mr. Sheng Su from Wood Rogers, Inc. is here with us tonight, and he'll be presenting. And I think there's a clicker over there, so you can advance the slides yourself. Right. But first of all, this item contains the existing system conditions for a stormwater system. It does not, what is not included on this presentation is items that were mentioned here before, like the compliance issues that we have to deal with, the Machado Lake water quality issues over there, and the Malaga Cove issues with the water intrusion. So with that, Mr. Sheng, it's all yours.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council member. Thank you for the opportunity to stand here and present this master plan. We work collectively with Oscar and Monica to develop this. So I would say this master plan is kind of risk-based approach. So we identify the system that have a higher risk and propose a recommendation to mitigate them. So I'm going to go over them briefly.
You know which one is the...
Press up and down.
Yeah, it's not working.
Surprise, surprise.
Up and down?
Can we make an amendment to the budget? Yeah, for an up and down clicker?
Yeah.
No, but you
Not until after we pass some revenue.
Invite yourself.
I thought you were going to say find another item in your budget and replace it.
So these are the outline of the agenda for tonight's presentation. Now it works. Thank you.
I pressed it for you.
Oh, you did? Oh, the magic button. So quickly background, this is the facility the city owned, which is about close to 20 miles of storm drain pipe, 7 miles of them owned by the county, and they're gonna drain by 5 big major watershed to the ocean. And the purpose of this master plan just kind of collect the inventory of the entire system for the city, and then kind of identify the structure issue, the O&M issue, as well as a capacity issue through the modeling, and then develop a capital project and prioritize them, rank them using a FEMA risk-based approach, and then develop analysis, technical information that kind of support a future financial analysis and grant application as well. So this will be a 20-year CIP program that we propose. Just real quick, and to kind of rehash the previous city infrastructure, close to 20 miles of storm drain pipes. They include catch basin, manhole, outfall structure, the catch basin, if I missed them. And they also include a trash capture facility as well, but again, those like Oscar mentioned, those like not storm drain flood control, those are regulatory facility that we not analyze in this analysis. For the county own about 7 miles of those pipes. Again, they all drain through the 5 major system. Next, please. Next, please. So this map kind of show all the distribution of different ownership of pipes. Green, those are the pipes owned by the city. The orange, those are the pipes owned by the county. And those are typical facility that the city own. Some of them are probably not intentionally, but the trail is kind of being used as a collective system for the storm drain runoff. Next. So, and this kind of further break it down. If we use a replacement value perspective, all 19 miles of your pipe gonna take up $123 million to replace them over time. And then all this system being collectively refine and enter in the GIS database for the city to take a further action or update in the future. Beyond the pipes, we also identify all the other inventory for the catch basin, manholes, sediment basin, and open channel. Thanks. So the asset inventory process kind of gone through multiple different components. One is collect hotspot from the public work, so we know what's the common recurring issue throughout the city. The second component is collect the record drawing, the plans from the city, so we can digitize and refine the GIS database for the inventory of the storm drain system. And then any data gaps in the system, we go out to do a field inspection, including popping manhole, lowering down camera, take picture, and do a survey, so we have a good data to feed it back to our GIS database system. And at the end of it, just kind of comprehensive GIS database system. Started off with the county database and refined through all these processes I mentioned right there. Thanks. So this red pins kind of represent the inspection and survey they have done, about 140-ish of them throughout the entire city. So the location that we select as pins is through called a prioritized approach, which we kind of overlay that with the hotspots. We are using the modeling result to identify locations that likely have a sedimentation issue. We look at the pipe slope that likely have a joint separation issue. Those are a prioritized approach to identify those locations for inspection. Of all those inspections, 29 of them actually identified to have like a critical issue for a structural rehab recommendation. So those kind of recommended to build into your CIP program. And 22 of them, it's in a poor condition that we recommend you to continue to monitor it. So we call it adaptive management approach. So you only see when the situation get worse that you go to rehab them instead of rehab it right now. So to kind of optimize the resources. And two of the sites have a immediate O&M issue, which means the sedimentation build up pretty high. If you don't remove them, it likely going to cause recurring flooding. And 17 other sites has some sort of O&M issue like cementation or vegetation clearing, but probably not severe enough for you to take immediate action. Those are the sites you should continue to monitor over the time. So of all those 29 sites we recommend for project, plus the monitoring, plus the O&Ms, it's equal to about $3.4 million total. So after we inspect the location, develop condition assessment, then we do a capacity assessment. So capacity assessments done through a detailed modeling. The modeling is through a hydraulic model. They include building the catchment, compiling the land use, soil data, and simulate that with a design storm. And then we'll kind of build up the 1D pipe system, open channel, the 2D floodplain model. And with that simulation and also part of the tidal consideration, if any interaction between the two, then we can come up with the floodplain, which is the next slide. This slide shows a small snapshot of our model. You can see the yellow lines are those storm drain pipe. The light blue ones are open channel, and then sort of a terrain background is the 2D surface that represent the street runoff, the overland runoff. And then the lighter blue represent the shallow flooding. So because the city is pretty steep in general, so a lot of flooding, if it happened, is more like a shallow sheet flow flooding, less than 6 inches typically. The darker blue represent flooding more than 6 inches. Next, please. So from the detailed model, we can identify the existing issue and capacity deficiency as well. Of all those, about 6 locations that we identify as a high priority project that we recommend for improvements. Of those, we kind of listed out the 10-year floodplain. If you do no project, no action, those are likely a floodplain going to incur someday, and then those are the potential risks. Then we're going to talk about risks, and we kind of quantify the risk using a FEMA hazards program. It's a program that recognized by FEMA for grant application. So we set up this whole master plan in the future that you have the technical data to bring to the grant application. Next, please. So of all those 6 projects, we also calculate the total cost and then analyze the cost to develop the risk over cost ratio. So the ratios can help the city and help us to rank the project. So the higher the number means the more cost effective to solve the project have the most flood risk. And then the 2 pictures can show one of the existing picture, and the low one show the potential conceptual picture that you can mitigate existing issue. Next, please. So collectively, we have identified about $3.4 million related O&M condition project. About $9.6 million of them is for high priority project. And also identify about $55,000 a year for the continued O&M as well monitoring inspection for the city. So in addition to all those, we also identify additional $6 million for the low priority CIP project. Those are not recommended for immediate implementation, but they could be integrated with other CIP projects like transportation, sanitary, or potable water to make the optimize the resources. Next, please. So these are some of the next steps they could consider. Go through the FEMA LOMAR process to remove property from flood zone. So residents don't have to pay flood insurance. Evaluate climate change analysis, kind of understand the future risks in the climate change condition. Go through the grant application, see what projects likely qualify to go to get a FEMA grant, for example, to pay for most of our expenses. And then the flood reporting. set up a website or a outreach program to communicate with the resident, ask them for their input, where's the issue, to have them feed the information issue back to the database, kind of develop interactive coordination effort to bring the community together to solve the issue together. MTD investigation, there's a process to transfer the city pipe back to the county. So we have to go through a lot of more engineering documentation development. You have to improve those pipes so that could be eligible to transfer back to the county. And then lastly will be the CIP implementation. So you have to go through the permitting process, the feasibility analysis, and then conceptual design so they can implement all the CIP projects. Next, please. That should be all. And thank you for your time.
Appreciate it very much. Thank you. Questions?
I'll start off by, first of all, the dollars that you're presenting, if I remember correctly, they're 2025 dollars, or are they inflation impacted?
The inflation impact.
Do you project inflation in the numbers you propose over a 20-year program?
Are these current year dollar estimates that you put in here, not future dollar estimates?
That's the current dollar. So typically when the city goes through another financial analysis program, they will analyze the existing operation budget and your expenses. And then in that stage, they will calculate the future inflation 4%, 3.5 to 4% per year.
But it's not reflected in these numbers?
Correct. It's not reflected in this number.
That answers one question. Thank you. So that we've got to build that into our thought process. If I go back in your report, you had a couple of different segments. The first one was the structural rehabilitation and replacement, which was about $3.4 million. Now, I'm somewhat confused as you define it as immediate maintenance and non-immediate maintenance. How do I differentiate what I need to do over the next 5 or 10 years versus the next 11 to 15 or 20 years? How can we break that apart?
Yeah.
And I'll have the same question for the capacity improvement projects.
That's a fair question. So in the last section of the report, we kind of help you to prioritize that for the first 5 years, what project you should do first, the second group. So there's a 20-year CIP program. We kind of break it down to 4 different groups. We have you to rank all of them, of the projects.
That's in the report?
Correct. In the CIP project implementation schedule section.
Okay, well, maybe someone can help me find that later because I couldn't break that apart and get an understanding. What I'm looking at, though, is that in today's dollars, you're talking about at least about $19 million in today's dollars for both these capital as well as the, whatever the other category was.
That's close, yes.
Structural rehabilitation. And that $19 million is not inflation affected.
Correct.
So from a financial perspective, what I'm trying to get my arms around is how many dollars am I going to need over the ensuing years in order just to deal with these sewer questions and problems. And it appears that some of your immediate analysis, more of these projects are in the immediate need section than in the non-immediate section. In other words, it looks like they're in the first half of the 10-year or the 20-year horizon versus the back half.
Do you have it open?
Pardon?
Do you have it open?
I think he has a hard copy.
Page 98.
Well, I've got it summarized here.
Okay.
No, I don't have it.
Yeah, 98 shows some of the spread. Anyway.
Is there a way, I guess my question I'm coming back to is there a way that you can help us paginate these sewer cost needs over, call it 5 to 10, or 6 to 10 and 10 to 15 and so forth, so we can begin to look at the cash flows that are going to be required to have on hand in order to deal with these
Yes.
situations?
Yes, it's in the implementation schedule section, which I can't
Yes,
remember the page number.
table 37 shows the 5, 10, 15, and 20 years. What is not included in there, I think, is the low priority projects, right?
Just the high, not the low.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
and also in that section, we kind of combine the condition of flood risk and then rank them based on risk. So that's why we move all the projects for the first 5 years because those have the highest risk. And then we based on the risk ranking to group them into 5-year increment.
What I'm trying to manage and help Oscar deal with is trying to align all these various projects in a similar pagination, whether it be sewers, whether it be streets, whether it be, water migration and whatever. So we have a comprehensive guesstimate as to what are the cash requirements going to be in over various time horizons. And if we can if we can work with Oscar and I can work with him as well to help put it in that kind of a context, I think that will fit into our bigger picture of what I believe we need to look at from a cash flow perspective long term.
And I think we're pretty close. Like I say, table 37 shows the next 20 years. What we took from table 37 and put on the CIP is the first 10 years. On the CIP,
excuse me.
Yes.
Is that in one of the attachments?
No, it's on page 97 and
Of the
98.
staff report?
Yes.
Of the actual report.
Okay,
yes,
I didn't have it
96, 97, and, the
97.
beginning of 98, page 98.
Not the staff report, but the actual.
The actual Will Rogers attachment, I think, is A.
While David looks at that, I'm wondering, said another way. So the 3.38 million, even though you have that prioritized, there was like immediate and urgent and kind of
Critical
urgent
or-
and not so urgent. They were still in that, in that top tier. I guess I kind of read this as the 3.38 is kind of what needs to be done right away. And for us, right away, because we talked about this with the other master plans we've done, is right away is not necessarily 1 year, just because not only the money, but we also just don't always have the human bandwidth to get these projects done. So let's say it takes us a couple years to do those or something. But that's how I looked at the 3.38. Then the next was the 9.6. And so maybe that's more of a 5-year. And then, right, if it's going to take us a couple years to get the first 3.38, then it's going to take us probably 3 years to get the 9.6. So that takes us to the 5, right?
Those can't run concurrently? I mean, let's pretend you have the money.
Well, I'm back to human bandwidth, but okay. And then but then basically saying, okay, and just to get everything, kind of do what we need to do and not be sitting in the same spot 20 years from now, we need to spend $700,000 a year on I'll call it just the maintenance, right?
O&M, yes.
Am I missing a chunk of money here?
$700,000 per year is including both the CIP project and the maintenance. So you're on the right track in the sense that we need to do a group of them at a time. So the way that table that we structure right now is kind of slowly, incrementally add on those projects based on the ranking. Because as you mentioned, the city have limited capacity from the resources standpoint, not only financially, from a staff perspective.
Yeah.
You need to slowly staff it up. So we sort of consider that. So we kind of increase that 5-year bucket incrementally so that you can take on more and more projects when you have more staff.
Mm-hmm.
And then those ranking is kind of based on risk ranking. So we kind of mash the capacity and the condition project and maintenance project. So we know which one more urgent.
But we also have to build in the inflationary factors.
Well, that's where I was headed, yeah.
And having I'm not so concerned about the capacity issue in a given year, because that we can manage one way or another, but it's having the resources available when needed. And that's the challenge that we're trying to work through here.
I feel like with all these master plans that, we have this like pop of spending that we need to do up front, of course, because we have so much deferred spending. And then they all seem to be sort of landing in the same spot, which is $1 million a year, $1 million a year, $1 million a year. I mean, they're saying 700,000. So if you said, okay, $1 million, well, plus you have to take the present value of the future cash flow, of course. But yeah, so I mean, I think you're right. I think there's a pad that you have to put in there, but I think you're looking for a very specific, what's the pad? And I think we're probably going to have to.
Well, it's having a methodology that we can test and monitor and update on an annual basis.
Yeah, just to see if you've got
We
the
need
right
to build
pad
the
in there.
foundational model
Yeah.
with all these component parts, and this is just one of the component parts.
Yeah.
I think you referred to it as an inventory, which I loved, because it's exactly the kind of thing that this city needs. We need this for all of our infrastructure. And because there's so many things we don't know that we own or we should be putting our focus on. And that adds to the burden.
Understand.
The stairs, the trails.
Yeah, but, yeah, okay.
There are other things.
Yeah, no, right.
What, in your detailed analysis, you have a given address and you'll have a 1 and the same address with a 2. What does that signify, or what does that mean?
I think that's likely because the multiple project in the same location. That's why I have a parenthesis or whatnot, the differentiate 1 or 2.
If there were multiple projects
in the same
location, would you do it at the same time or not?
That's based on the risk of the assessed risk.
And sometimes one can be a maintenance issue, and then the 2 might be a capital replacement or repair issue.
Yeah.
So in some cases, we might need to clean or inspect the line, and at the same time, it might be a recommendation to replace it or something like that.
Well, let me just give you an example. It's, you've got one under critical, which is Via Cerritos and Gran Via Altamira. That's a 2, and I think there was I don't know where the 1 was on that, but Via Alondra, 4237, there's a 1 and a 2, and I'm confused if those would be done separately or would be combined and done at the same time because you're having to get into the ground.
We always attempt to leverage the opportunity cost. So
I understand.
Yes. So even like Sean mentioned, if there is a transportation project where we need to do a stormwater project, we try to sneak it in there at that time. So yes, it makes always sense to do it at the same time.
Oh, sorry, David's still going.
Don't worry about it.
I think having these locations and projects scheduled out is extremely helpful, because if you've got a street project going on in the same area, you might want to ask yourself, do we kill 2 birds with 1 stone?
Yes, no, it makes sense. And in the future, my plan is to collaborate even better with Calwater, because they do projects into some areas where we could leverage that opportunity to do that. And we're starting that relationship with them as well.
My plan is to find a stone.
Well, I think this is an extremely valid example for our residents that we're operating this city without having this information. And this is all the remedial work that you and others have had to do in all the different segments to get us the information so that we can put together these master plans. And it's never been done before. And I think we can't take the pedal off the metal. We have to keep it moving forward.
You might have covered this in your presentation already, so sorry if you did. What percentage of the system did you test?
I would say roughly 30% of them, because we kind of prioritize location we know that have a known problem. So, I mean, spatially, you could probably say 30%, but I think in reality, we'll probably capture 70-80% of the known problem, because we sort of work out the hotspot location based on a model result, based on the other anecdotal information. Collectively, we hit those locations that have an issue. So I would say collectively, we probably hit 70-80% of the problem.
Does that say that we should also at least think about a contingency for additional unknowns?
Absolutely. Agree.
There goes more money.
Famous last words.
Eric, I'm giving you a hard time.
Yeah.
You're acknowledged.
Right.
All good? Anything else?
Yeah.
Your turn?
No. No, I mean, I really don't have a lot to add. I mean, I think, well, I'll share an anecdote, which is that a resident recently contacted me and said that they really don't understand, what the city's, budget problems are, and they don't agree with sort of the approach that that is sort of currently underway. And then they said, well, but the truth is, I had a storm drain fail underneath my driveway, and it swept out my driveway right after I finished remodeling my home. This was years ago, but I think it's a really interesting story. I will say this, as a resident and even as a planning commissioner, I don't think I appreciated just how much infrastructure is actually hidden in the hills and the
Underground.
Whatever of a city, which is very small, arguably by population, under 15,000 people, certainly not a big city, but it's not that small by land mass, right? I mean, that's right. I mean, if you put it next to San Francisco, it actually looks surprisingly big. It's just the density is a completely different scale, right? And so I think that, the stormwater system, as I've learned more and more and more about it, it's probably one of the best examples to me of something where you just don't think about it unless it sweeps away your driveway or your backyard. We've had another story of literally that happening. And the potential blowback effects that has just on the city's budget. It's a contingency, it's all these other things. And it can ruin people's homes, right? I mean, we had one resident who kind of narrowly averted a major incident like that. And we've had others who have not, frankly, been able to escape that. And it can lead to litigation, and it can lead to all sorts of other problems. So, yeah, I mean, I think this is a great step forward. I mean, clearly there is more work to be done to, finalize the absolute last step of how we prioritize and actually implement it. But, clearly we are much further along than we've ever been in recent history on this. I have a vague recollection in the 1990s that some work was done on the storm system, but I think it's been a long time. So
Yes, yeah.
I'm glad that we're here. So
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. All good. Appreciate your time, effort, and review.
Thank you.
I don't have any.
Thank you.
John, want to speak?
It would just be a downer if I said.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, let's skip it.
On that note,
Not in the mood.
there is no public downer presently requested.
Receiving file?
I think so.
Yes, it is a receive and mail, not requiring a motion, correct? Yeah. Okay, that's item 7. On to mayor and council member reports.
Well, Carrie already indicated that yesterday was a very moving event over at Green Hills Memorial, and I encourage all of the council members in the future to consider going. A number of our colleagues from other cities from from Torrance to Hawthorne to Lomita to the peninsula were all represented. And it was a great opportunity to interact and also feel the real messages that come out of Memorial Day week, why we're doing it. But in addition to that, I had the privilege on Friday of having a private tour of the USS Essex, which was in for Fleet Week. And it was some of the same sailors and the midshipmen that were on the ship when I was there Friday. And I don't know how many of you have any idea how big that vessel is, but it's an aircraft carrier that goes all over. It was commissioned in the early 90s. And it had, I believe they told me, 56 different decks,
Oh, wow.
which is amazing.
56?
56.
Wow.
And the way that sailors have to go up and down these steep ramps, I did some of it, but it damn near killed me. But they finally were so kind, and they brought me chairs, and I will just share this one couple stories. There was a group of Annapolis undergraduates that were out. They had flown to San Diego. They came up on the Essex for a 2 or 3 week experience with as part of their collegiate activities. And these gentlemen are the most polished, polite, impressive young men you could ever, and women, that you can ever imagine. And they stuck with me all the, from the, they knew that I was having a difficult time walking around on the ship. They got me a chair, they sat there, we talked. They wouldn't let my group leave the ship until they walked us all the way down the ramps, all the way out to our car. But these gentlemen and women were amazing, and they are representing our country going forward, and I couldn't have been prouder. But that's,
What a great experience.
that was a real unique experience, yeah. And then, and to cap it off, a lot of those same individuals were at the Green Hills event as well. As a matter of fact, the chaplain from the Essex gave the benediction yesterday.
Go Navy.
That's right.
Pardon?
Nice.
What'd you say? Go Navy.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, on top of it, they played all the songs from all the various branches of service. They had 10 skydivers. They had flyovers, helicopters, you name it. It's an event.
Awesome.
Very nice.
Derek?
I don't think I really have anything to add. I think we covered a lot, and yeah.
Okay.
Probably the only report I have, city manager and I met with the beach club. They have a new president there, and met with their team last week, went through their budget, and it's just, we asked them to make a, normally we kind of bring sometimes the concession budgets and we kind of put them in consent, but I feel like, we had a presentation last time from the stables, and there's a lot going on at the beach club, a lot of good stuff going on over there, so we asked them to make a presentation, and we wanted that to be on the next agenda, the June
Great.
9th.
Who's the new president?
Case, what was his last name? Something.
Case something.
Case something. Young guy. Yes, so sorry.
I just was curious.
Oh my gosh, what was his last name? What is his last name? Case. Dolan. Thank you. Is that right? Dolan? That doesn't sound familiar. There you go, Case Dolan.
All right.
Yeah, young guy, very new, fairly new beach club member. So kind of new.
New view.
The new crop over there. So yeah. Anyway, lots going on over there. So we asked them to make a presentation rather than just put their information in consent, because we just feel like it's good to hear from our concessions.
Amazing.
That's
Thank
the
you.
only thing I have.
I'll share one more thing from the chamber event with the other mayors. It's easy to get tied up into what's going on in our city. But when you realize how much our city is collaborating with the others on the peninsula, that our priorities You know, despite our different use of services and that our police department's 100,000 times better than anything they use, well, you know. No, but seriously, it's humbling to collaborate with the others and see that, you know, our priorities are similar, our needs are similar. But then each of the council members, each of the mayors, sort of brings their own perspective about what's important to them in their city and what their city is unique for, right? Rolling Hills Estate's equestrian. You know, Rolling Hill's different than us. And so, and then to hear each other's challenges. You know, obviously, Rancho Palos Verdes is facing, you know, really tough situation on PV Drive South and Portuguese Bend, and, you know, how to fund that and deal with it and whatever else. So, you know, we all have our challenges, and, you know, we work together, and it was a great opportunity to be there. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and so, you know, thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks for representing us.
Any future agenda items that we haven't already futurized?
Just the presentation, I said.
Beyond that?
Oh, no.
All right. On that note, we are going to be now adjourned to Tuesday, June 9th at 6:30 p.m. Thank you all for coming.